everybody, and welcome to a special Google I.O. edition of the Android Central podcast. It is, what is today? Wednesday, May 15th, 2013. Special. I'm Phil Dickinson, obviously. Jerry Hildenbrand.
Hi.
Sitting here with me in San Francisco. It's one of those rare times I get to see you.
That's right.
Once or twice a year. So today was the first day of Google I.O. We've actually been here. I've been here a couple days. You got here yesterday. We got a whole bunch of stuff to go through.
They let it all out, didn't they?
Kind of. I go back and forth. I was talking to a lot of people today. By the way, hi everybody. How's it going?
Oh, yes. Hi.
Good to see you. Just talking to people after the keynote. We had this monster keynote today, and they, instead of doing two over 2 days, we're just one, right? And it was like 3 hours long. It was pretty long. I didn't think it was that bad. Heard a lot of people complaining, to which I would say, go home.
No, yeah. I mean, is 3 hours a little long on your butt on those seats?
Sure.
Yes, but it was 3 hours packed full of great stuff.
A whole lot of stuff. And in fact, I'm starting to see stories about what we didn't get. Or, we didn't get the things we expected. And, well, sure, but we got a buttload of other stuff.
We got what we need.
So let's just jump into it. First and foremost, I want to talk about this Samsung Galaxy S Google edition. Not a Nexus.
Welcome to Bizarro Land.
It's not a Nexus.
No.
If you use Nexus in the same sentence, you're doing it wrong.
No, Google was very careful they're selling the device with their operating system on it, but It's all Samsung's, baby.
Unlockable bootloader.
Yep.
The updates sound like they're coming directly from Google.
I got the impression that they're coming from Samsung.
Well, okay, but either way, they're not going to be like weird carrier.
Right. They're going to come through Google as soon as Samsung has it ready.
And that's about how the Nexus was back in the day, right?
Right.
The Galaxy Nexus.
Yes.
So I'm not overly concerned about that. I mean, I say that. It could well go to pod fast, right?
This is Samsung's Unlocked Developer Edition. Rather than sell it themselves, they're partnering with Google to sell it, and that's probably a wise idea. Works good for both sides, maybe.
Yeah, and did they ever sell the Galaxy S3 Developer Edition? Because that one was official, right? It was called a Developer Edition.
Don't know anybody that bought one.
Yeah, and honestly, look, this thing's $649, man.
Yeah. Did you notice the crowd?
Everybody's getting all excited, and they're like, it's $649, and then all you heard was,
ooh.
Yeah, it was. Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know that I would buy this. It's $649. Now, that said, I was talking to some of our tech guys in chat while this was going on, and they're getting excited. But I don't know.
If I'm going to have just stock Android without any of the enhancements that Samsung has done, I'll just buy a Nexus for half the price.
Yeah, if there's... I'm back and forth. There's such this thing that stock is better. And that's not necessarily true. And it's weird.
It's not.
Like, stock is better, and then you go and do a lot of stuff on top of it. I mean, to each his own, right? That's... The whole idea behind all this is you can do it whatever the hell you want. But, man, I mean... I've taken this Galaxy S4 that I'm holding in my hand right now that you guys can't see and made it work just like I made the HTC One work.
Sure.
Or just like I make my Nexus 4 work.
But you also have the benefit of those sensors across the top.
Right.
Oh, it drives me crazy that they're not lined up. But they do something. On this developer edition, what are these sensors going to do?
Right.
There's no software for it.
What's the infrared going to do?
It beats the hell out of me.
Now, I mean, I'm sure somebody will find a use for it.
But that's... Maybe, just maybe, this is a case where you can moan about TouchWiz and, oh my god, the lag, and oh, it's so... whatever. But...
Well, I need to be right.
I would... Oh, yeah?
Let's be clear about that.
But if I were buying a Galaxy S4... I would go down to, in my case, the T-Mobile store and buy the Samsung one. I would not buy the Google one. Crazy, but true.
Yeah, I mean, something just feels forced about this. And I'm not sure what.
There's a story there, man.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
No.
But we can speculate.
And it's... I mean, I heard all these people start... Well, in fact, there were some stories out there, so I guess I can talk about it. Why isn't HTC doing this? And it's not really up to HTC to do it. HTC
Right.
has a developer edition. It was out basically at the same time as the other one. I mean, if you're going to buy that sort of phone and do that sort of thing, and if you can't take the extra 10 minutes it takes to put CyanogenMod on it, then I'm not sure what you're really complaining about.
Good point. Good point. I think a big HTC doesn't feel that they need to do this, maybe. I mean, Samsung caught a lot of backlash, man. A lot of backlash that they didn't deserve. I mean, I'm in forums across the internet. I know a lot of the things people are saying about the new S4. Everybody seems to like it, but everybody also notices there's some stuff with TouchWiz that just isn't perfect yet. Yeah,
and that's beyond just like
Right.
I'm not a fan of TouchWiz thing.
That's-
There's weird lag in this thing
Right.
still.
That's new software. That'll get fixed.
Right.
The answer to that is not, oh my God, yank it all off and sell it with other software.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know why. It's a puzzle. It's one of those Mystery Science Theater 3000 things that we'll never know.
So I mean, anyway, it's coming. What was the date? June 26th in the U.S. only. It's unlocked. It's
Cuckoo.
Yeah.
U.S. only, unlocked.
AT&T and T-Mobile,
And that means that
GSM.
Rogers in Canada, I'm sorry. There's a phone that would work so sweet for you all that you can't buy. Ask Google why.
If you wanted another sign, it's not a Nexus. It's got LTE, and it's got the micro SD card. And remember, my easiest explanation to somebody of what a Nexus is having the code, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, having code that you can, for want of a better term, release back upstream. Like you can put it out publicly,
Right.
AOSP style.
If you want to sell a phone made for developers to screw with,
Right.
you have to provide them software to put it back to working order.
Right.
And there's some things that you just can't include in that.
Correct.
Or that you have to pay a whole lot of money.
HTC has done it with its developer edition.
Right, but that's HTC doing it.
Right. So that's the difference, and that's why when I heard people start saying, "Well, why doesn't HTC make a Nexus like this?" Well, this isn't a Nexus,
Right.
In any way,
This
shape,
is,
or form.
you know what, for most people, this is better. It's gonna, if you're the guy who you have to have CyanogenMod on your S4 and you don't care that you're giving up the camera, you don't care that you're giving up all the sensors and the eye tracking, and you don't care about all that, then this is the phone for you.
So this wasn't even like the biggest news. I still don't know what the biggest news of the day was. This was kind of a drop in the bucket.
The biggest news to me, as on the nerd side, is the stuff that everybody's going to forget tomorrow, and that's the Google Play services.
All right, so let's talk about that. Now, actually, before we get to that, I want to talk about something we didn't get. We didn't get a single mention of Android 4.3.
Don't need it anymore.
And again, it's not official.
Right.
We don't know that it's out there, but it's out there. But all right, so Jerry, explain to me what Google Play services are.
They are a set of APIs that what was it? It was about 4, 5, 6 months ago that this came out on the market and started pushing to people's phones. It's called Google Play Services. It's APIs are tools that Google has written that developers can use to communicate back with the operating system and do some fancy stuff.
Okay.
Previous to having a separate Google Play Services, some things like Maps and this new stuff for Google Plus, all that was baked into the operating system, and some of the other things we saw today would have required an OS update. Instead, Google has yanked a bunch of that stuff out of the base software and made it upgradable through the market.
Okay.
And that's sweet.
And that's something we've talked about for a long time, being able to...
And Google has, too.
And it's a good thing because it's easier for Google to do. It's easier for the manufacturers because they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it takes it out of the manufacturer's hands.
It's going to be tough for us because now I have another thing I have to explain why version numbers don't necessarily matter.
Well, if the more they get into Google Play services, the less and less version numbers matter.
Right.
Eventually, you're going to have version numbers really only dictate your showcase features.
And for what it's worth, I think we need to repeat that we don't know a damn thing about 4.3. Right now, it's just a number.
Right.
So You know, I'm not freaked out that we didn't hear anything about it. And again, it's not like Google couldn't announce it next week if it wanted to.
To be honest, I expected it, but I didn't expect. I'll come right out and say it now that it didn't happen. I'm relieved. I expected Google to say, "Hey, here's this new Hangouts chat cross-platform feature. It'll be on iOS next week, and you can get it for Chrome tomorrow. And when you get updated to 4.3, you can have it on your Android phone."
Right.
That's what I was so expecting and was just dreading, but it didn't happen that way. Now
So,
it.
you mentioned Hangouts. Let's talk about that, I guess. We knew some sort of new chat was coming.
Right.
Is this what we expected? We were all kind of expecting this like weird cross-platform chat app to end all apps, and I'm not sure that we really quite got that. I mean, we got what looks to be a really good chat app for Google,
Yep.
but it's not going to do Skype for me. It's not going to talk to iOS, right?
Yeah, and no, it does talk to iOS as long as you install Google's
Hang
app.
on, right.
That's
Which actually goes against a little bit what Larry Page said at the end of the keynote. Larry came out, the CEO of Google and one of the founders, and came out and was kind of bitch slapping Microsoft a little bit.
A little.
One of the questions in the Q&A was working with these other companies, and I thought he said something really good there. We said there's just so much animosity, and he reads all these stories about how it's us versus somebody else, and actually he used a phrase that I've been using, which just shows my genius, I think.
Yep.
And I'm tongue-in-cheek, guys. But it's not a zero-sum game. There does not have to be a winner and a loser.
That's right.
But he was giving Microsoft a hard time for saying, well, yeah, they just implemented our open, relatively standard of Google Talk into Outlook. He didn't say it by name, but that's what it is. But, we don't have Outlook in Gmail. Now, it's kind of apples and oranges, but I get what he meant.
It's two big companies trying to build their way forward with services because that's the way forward now.
Right.
Foxconn will build a phone for anybody. Hardware is nothing anymore.
Right.
The operating system is nothing. It's the services behind it.
And the Hangouts app is not bad. Now, it's wonky on a couple phones for me. I know a lot of us were installing it, and it's supposed to take the place of Google Talk, but I still have Google Talk on the HTC One. I'm not sure why.
I couldn't get it to install on any phones this morning.
Not even a Nexus?
No, but then again, it was connection misery in there. So
So we got that. What else do we have? Need to look again here. Where do I put it? There it is. Cloud messaging. That is a big thing. So
yes.
It is part of the services.
The big takeaway there is the upstream messaging. You know what? The easy way to put that for people that don't want to worry about all the nerd terms, it's reverse push.
Right.
You're sending messages back to somebody's server through Google Cloud Messaging, and it's not chewing your battery up. Boom, go. Sweet. Everybody implement it in your apps.
So that, and actually the developer, like you heard all the developers like, ooh.
Yes,
like,
because that's huge.
It's really cool for me sitting in that room with stuff I don't necessarily understand what they're saying, but to hear everybody else get excited is a really cool feeling.
That's something that no matter how good of a developer you are, you couldn't implement that.
Right.
That requires a complete back-end service that nobody expected, and they just got thrown out at us.
We got some new location APIs, and that's interesting insofar as these are things that applications will be able to take advantage of.
Again, designed to be light on your battery. There was a little theme here.
Right. And the big thing was this can run in the background and know exactly where you are. I'm not sure what the degree of resolution for that is.
Well, it can tell whether you're walking, running, riding a bike, or
Right.
driving. So,
and it uses, they said, at least on paper, 1% battery per hour.
Right.
Which, is nothing. I use more than that just turning my phone on. I think. The other big thing for me, and we kind of buried this a little in the post, so I have to find it. But for me, is notifications.
they sync now. I wanted to stand up and sing the Hallelujah song.
I mean, look, and we're in a room full of people who have multiple devices. That's not normal. But for those of us that do have multiple devices, especially for me, where it really gets me is was IMs, actually. And I use IMs across all different apps. But the one really weird constant was Google. was the Google IMs. Somebody would, and I only messaged one or two people through that, but I would get it on one device, and then I'd get it on another, and then I'd get it on another. This will, when you clear it on one device, it clears it on all of them.
Right.
And that's not just for IM. That'll be for anything.
Any developer that wants to, to make their application compliant.
Well, is that not OS wide? I took it as OS wide.
I took it as there is now an API that your app can communicate back with your dashboard data.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'll find more about that out tomorrow during one of the developer sessions.
We'll talk about Google Music in a second. Google Now, we got some new cards. Cool.
Yeah, we're gonna. We expect them to trickle. That reminder, they kind of skim past the location reminder. I thought that was a pretty big deal and deserved at least a minute.
Which one was that?
The one where remind me to call Phil when I get to.
So like geolocation reminders. So, hey, so Jerry gets off the plane here in San Francisco. It can remind you to call me.
Yes.
When it sees that you're at the airport.
Yeah, remind me to call Phil when I get to San Francisco International Airport, and my phone would remind me to call Phil.
In Google Now, was this part of? No, this is part of Google Now. So you can now leave yourself reminders over Google Now, and some of the stuff they were demoing, even for a demo, and some of the stuff they had one demo that totally failed for the gaming, which we'll talk about in a second. That happened, but a lot of this voice and again in search went so fast. I had a hard time taking pictures of it because they went so fast and it worked so well.
That's a whole lot bigger deal than we think.
Yes.
Because when she was demoing it, and for the life of me, I can't remember her name.
Yep.
I'm supposed to be a Google nerd. I apologize, everyone. When she said, tell me, she used words like it.
Yeah.
Or there. People, that is a huge deal. That means Google remembered what you were searching about before.
Contextually,
and can translate that into the pronoun it.
And that they are thinking about the next question, and that's the natural language product. That's the predictive.
Huge.
That there's a lot of money to be made in that.
Yes.
That is. It's hard to overstate how big a deal it is, I think.
Right. Well, it was amazing when she said, and tell me about Mexican restaurants there.
Right.
She used the word there. Now, we knew she was talking about San Jose because she had just said, but...
She just said, how long is it going to take me to get to San Jose? Or how far away is San Jose from here?
Something like that, yeah.
And, it shows the map, says how long it's going to... And then, tell me about Mexican restaurants there. And it relates there to San Jose. It relates there to the previous question. And, this is all math, right? When you think it's all math and logic when you think about it.
But it's something we've never seen before.
Right.
This type of contextual awareness. That's step one to Skynet. Next thing Google's going to know. That's a big thing. That's artificial intelligence on a level.
Right.
And at least me, it impresses me.
And we're kind of bouncing back and forth, but there's a lot of stuff, so in no real order here. Another big one for developers is, and this is something I've had to deal with a little bit as we're rolling out our new application. Go download it if you haven't already. It's excellent. And by the way, we just updated it this morning. Nice update. We finally have landscape. But one of the reasons we launched it in the forums first is because I didn't want to do this giant Google Play launch that anybody can get to, just from walking across it, if it sucked, if the feedback was going to be horrible. So we did it in the forums first. But doing it that way is bad for updates.
Right.
There's no easy update mechanism. You have to download again each time. You have to go to the forums and do it. There's no automatic updates, no notifications, whatever. But now there was no beta track in Google Play before. You couldn't control that at all. It's all or nothing. That changes, and it changes in a big way because you can do alpha and beta testing.
Yep.
You can assign groups.
And dude, free translation service.
This is that's a huge thing. So you can. Their example was you can go look at your analytics and say, hey, I'm in the U.S., it's a U.S. app, whatever, but I see a lot of people in Russia are using this application too. And, translations, it's not cheap, right? You got to get somebody to do it. It's basically $100 a language at this point for them. So you can just sign up for it. You buy it just like you buy anything else in Google Play, really, and it'll translate your app. I mean, how awesome is that?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, and what it sounded like, of course, we don't know anybody that's used it yet, is you'll get the strings file out of the code for your app, and Google will translate that and inject it back into that strings file.
Right.
And you won't have to do any work. It'll just happen for you.
And that's, it takes about a week or so to get back, because it does take a little time, but that's fine. But I'm trying to see if we didn't list the languages, but it's excellent. That's the way it should be.
Yes.
That's badass.
It's Google being, what's the word? Google is maturing.
Yes.
For development.
There were a lot of excited developers there today. I think more so than normal.
Oh, yes.
And this was only like the first fourth of the keynote. Google Play Store redesigned for tablets. There's a design for tablets category. Cool. That's been necessary for how long, and we're just kind of now getting it. There's always been that, which apps are for tablets? And our answer has always been all of them. But now you're going to find better ones for tablets.
And this is Google backpedaling just a little, because their answer was always all of them.
Right.
But now they're saying that, yes, all of them work, but some are better than others.
Tell me about the Android Studio and what an IDE is and why this is important. Because, again, this is something that developers are very excited about.
Yes, and I went to a big session about this right after the keynote. And if you're a developer, get excited about this. This is really cool. If you're not a developer, an IDE is it's Microsoft Word. You use Microsoft Word to help write a document for your office or for school, because it has tools that make writing easier. An IDE is a collection of tools to help you write code easier. Things like code snippets and this, the little shortcuts, plugins you can add. That's really, I guess that's a good way to put it.
What does IDE stand for?
Integrated Development Environment.
Okay.
Eclipse has always been the IDE that Google recommends.
Right. The big deal now is proper previewing.
Right. They're going to slowly break out of Eclipse. Tor Norby, they're not done with Eclipse. You don't have to abandon Eclipse. They're not going to move away. But they're going to have they're having the beta's out there for a real Android development studio.
Right.
And it has a what you see is what you get preview guide for all your layouts. I know Google talked about that last year and showed some demos.
And I remember that. It was kind of half baked, right?
It was there. Just wasn't the best thing. This thing though, it's it just pops up on the right hand side. You tell it if you want device Chrome around it, or if you want to just see the window. You tell it what device you want to emulate. And bam, you make a change, and it's instant right in your layout.
Some really cool examples that even I understood, that if you have an application, you can show it in multiple languages at a single time, because what looks okay font-wise, just typography, in English, might look totally weird in German.
Right, that's the example they use. The word in German, they've got those crazy words.
Yeah.
They're 46 letters long. It was too big for the space.
Right.
And you wouldn't know that until it was too late.
Until you would have to change the code and look at it in that language, and then load it up and look at it, and then go back and it was a big pain in the butt. This took 3 seconds.
With this, right away, I either have to tweak the font size or I have to change the resource string and use a different translation. And, maybe that's not easy to do that kind of thing, but you're going to have to do it anyway. And now you have tools that this ahead of time.
Right.
But before you just were waiting for a German user to send you a nasty gram on the market. 1 star, translation is horrible. You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
But this is step 1. They finish off the polish. You want Android apps, and you want all of your Android apps to look as good as your iPhone apps. And people, there are some crappy iPhone apps in the App Store.
Right.
But I can't argue when people say that on the average Apple apps look better. It's because there are design guidelines that they force you to use, and tools that Apple gives you to make it really easy to make apps that look that way. Now Google's providing tools that developers can use to follow their guidelines, make great looking apps, and that we all benefit. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah. Next bullet points, a couple numbers, and one of them is actually kind of interesting. So they said Google Play has passed 48 billion app installs. Here's the interesting thing, though, and I forget how many of those they said have come in the past.
1.5 billion in the past week or month.
Yeah, something insane. But here's what's really interesting about that. Let's see, 2.5 billion installs in just the last month. Here's the thing. Apple, if you went to apple.com the past week or two, however long it's been, has had this countdown, or this ticker counting
Right.
up, I guess. And it looks like they just passed it, because I just pulled it up. Apple has hit 50 billion app downloads.
And they've got, a good solid year head start.
Yeah.
So,
For what all this is worth, which, whatever.
Android is huge.
Yeah, that's the point. It's not to say Apple's worse than Android or whatever.
No.
But, the point is Android is friggin' huge, and there are a lot of people using it.
900, wasn't it 900?
900 million activations.
That's damn close to a billion.
It's exactly 100,000, or 100 million less than
Yep,
a
and
billion.
what? It took 3 months to go from 600 million to 900 million?
Yeah, up from 400 million in 2012. So, I mean, that more than double. That's, again, huge,
Insane.
boys and girls. And, most of this is outside the U.S.
Right, if you look in the live blog, because I remember Phil got a picture of it,
Yep.
it showed a really nice map of the world, and it was color-coded with countries that have less than, what percentage was it?
I forget what the percentage was.
But it was
yeah.
like less than 20% of saturation for Android. In other words, these are countries that nobody has any Android phones, and there's a lot of them out there.
And this goes back to the larger talk about, from Eric Schmidt, about unconnected people and unconnected countries. And mobile's going to be the way they do it. This is why that is important.
We all got Chromebook Pixels today, hooray! But any laptop,
Yep.
you're not going to go to sub-Saharan Africa, and not every family's going to be able to afford to buy laptops. That's just a given. But when a company can provide $40 unlocked cell phones that can reach the internet, and a company like Google is behind it to get as much and as many good services on it as possible, there is your answer.
This is what Mark Andreessen talked about recently as well. That next 4.55 billion phones.
Yep.
Right. So it's a huge number, and it's a huge deal. Google Plus on the web side is going to take a bigger change toward the way it looks on mobile. In fact, it's live now.
Looks a lot like it does on my tablet.
You don't sound happy about that. Now, look, you've seen it for like 10 minutes,
Right.
so
I'm not going to judge. I'm an old geezer, and I take change.
nobody likes change. It's attractive.
Very much.
Things are in weird places.
If you follow the right people and you get some lovely photographs
Yep.
in your stream, I can see that being really, really nice looking. But it's different, and we're going to have to get used to it.
Well, speaking of
Or
pictures,
shut it off.
that was so. Vic Indotra is kind of the face of. Well, he is the face of Google Plus, but he's also been the face of Google I/O keynotes for the past couple of years, right? Especially before Sundar took over Android as well as Chrome. But Vic was kind of the MC, and he's obviously an engineer and sounds like a pretty good marketer probably, and a little bit of a goofball, I think.
I think that's the best part.
Yeah. But he's showing us all this awesome photo stuff today, and a couple levels of it. One is you can now edit photos in Google Plus. You can, and by edit I mean not just filter, but you can sharpen. You can
Right.
fix.
What company did Google just buy that within the past year?
Oh, Snapseed.
Is Snapseed?
Yeah, I mean that
Okay.
was the mobile equivalent of it. But yeah, so I mean you can do all this.
But I thought they also bought some company that the Apple camp was very upset because now they're afraid that they won't have it for.
No, I don't remember.
I don't know, but whatever. They had an eye on the future
Right.
when they made their acquisition. And
So you can fix the pictures. You can do it manually or you can do it automatically. It will. There's so many awesome things it'll do. And I was talking to a couple of people who were using this in beta, and they're like, it worked. It just works. It's amazing.
Well, there's like apps like Perfectly Clear,
Right.
for Android, do the same thing.
And
yes,
Snapseed.
yeah, and Snapseed.
Yeah.
They do. They work amazing, and I can't wait to play with that.
It will go through. Vic's example was I took 600 pictures on vacation, and it will pick out the best ones for me. Now, when I first hear that, I'm like, no. I'm going to pick out my own pictures.
But I liked their criteria. Dump the duplicates, dump the blurry ones.
Yep.
Pictures with people you interact with get bumped up to the top.
Yeah.
I'm curious to try it. I still think when it's all said and done, we're all going to say, "Oh, I wish that picture had got in there," or "Wish." That's going to happen. But I think it'll do a pretty good job.
There's an interesting feature called Auto Awesome,
Yeah.
which will if you take a bunch of pictures in succession, or if you take something in burst mode where it takes like 5 pictures in 2 seconds or whatever, it will see that and say, hey, I'm going to automatically turn that into an animated
Like that.
GIF for you.
Yeah, Samsung and HTC are doing that with their cameras.
Yeah, well, Zoe's a little different on HTC, but yeah, Samsung absolutely has it. I was experimenting with it yesterday. So some really, really cool stuff on that front. And if you haven't played with it yet, do it. I'm going to work with it some more when I get home. Speaking of Google+, and this is also very important because you're going to see it everywhere, and I'm working with our people on it a little bit. The Google+ sign-in API is now cross-platform, and this makes it really interesting. So say you log into, and their example was using Fancy, but I'll use us as an example. Yep. Ours doesn't work yet, so don't yell at me when you try this. But we have the Mobile Nations Passport. And one of the things I'm getting them to fix is the Google sign-in. Because right now, especially in the app, you hit the button and then you get the usual dialog boxes where you have to put in your username and password. It's a big pain in the ass, right? That's not a good experience. We're updating it, by the way. It's just going to take some time. So what you will do in this case, say you went to Android Central on the website, just normal website, normal browser. You click that button and you're going to sign in with your Google credentials. It will then sign you into the app on your phone. Actually, first, it'll ask if you want to download it to your phone.
Download the app, yes.
Which is even cooler.
But it did that. It did that before.
Yeah, actually it did, because I remember Marcus telling me about that, yeah.
Right, we didn't, no big deal was made about that when Google pushed it out.
Right.
Because it was only half finished.
Right.
Now it's finished.
Now it will automatically download it. It'll automatically sign you in, which for me is going to save 2 hours of headaches.
And the next step is it's going to be able to remember what you've read and what you haven't.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the forums reading something on the web, and you shut the lid on your laptop and you pick up your tablet and you open the app, and it's going to take you right back to this is how it starts, people. This cross communication is really going to change the future.
Some big changes for Google Maps. On the Android side, it's coming later this summer. It's going to be a whole new look. So we kind of got a preview today. It's in relative beta on the web right now, so everybody here gets a look at it. I think you can go sign up for it. It looks pretty. I think it looks...
It does.
It looks a lot kind of like Apple Maps a little bit. The really interesting thing for me are the search results. They're no longer in a sidebar down the left. Search results are actually put onto the map. Now,
I'm going to miss that sidebar.
A little bit,
I use that a lot.
I know. and I think that's maybe an easier way, just for those of us who are used to reading lists of results. But now it's more contextual.
And, we're hardcore. We digest data all day long.
I've always talked about the way I read news, and I need
most people
lists of headlines,
will
right?
get much better along seeing a place name on the map where it's supposed to be.
Directions and navigation, so much better. Google,
and the personalized results.
Personalized
that was really
results,
cool.
yes. So if you search for a restaurant and a friend of yours is +1, something similar or something nearby, that's going to show up in your search results again on the map.
And the guy had his favorite restaurant that he goes to all the time, and Google remembers that he goes there. Yep. So things that are like his favorite restaurant are automatically suggested to him. That's pretty badass.
Google Earth integration, which has always kind of been a separate part of it, but you can still do it. It's now just built in, and it looks awesome. The 3D modeling.
Real-time clouds and stars.
Yeah, so if you zoom way out and the Earth is small, you get real-time clouds, real-time city lights
Yep, and
on the dark side of the Earth.
real time stars.
Stars, and you can see where the sun is. I didn't see the moon.
No, I didn't see the.
That's it. It sucks. Didn't see the moon.
Maybe the point of view is from the moon.
It could have been.
That's where the Street View rocket ship is.
Yeah.
It's parked in the moon.
So the Android update will be in iOS, by the way. Will be coming later this summer.
Yep.
Important. Good. Google.
How did you like when the lights, like the sunrise when Larry Page came out?
Oh, I know. How else
That was
that?
amazing. The choreography was. If you haven't watched the live stream,
Yeah.
go back and watch at least that part about it.
Especially because we're all waiting for something to happen. And last year it was Sergey running out with his skydiving and bikers and whatever. And this time and this comes a day after Larry Page, a day or two,
shared the news.
shared the news about why his throat sounds like crap every time you hear him on a earnings call, or why he disappeared for a little while. It has to do with vocal cord paralysis and just weird medical stuff, right? And frankly, none of my business. We didn't do stories on it because I don't think it's a story. I mean, on the investment side, maybe, but I hate speculative stories like that. They just drive me nuts. So we didn't touch it. But he explained it, and it's an interesting read, actually.
It was obvious that his views and his ability to think and be the superstar nerd that he always was.
Unchanged.
Yep. You can see that today.
All right, so let's talk Google Music for a second.
See, this is the one.
A couple things to talk about here. Let's start with the big important ones. So we now have Google Play Music All Access.
Do.
It's like a TV cable news show. Streaming audio, streaming music is basically what it is. I know everyone's making a big deal about the labels that are on board, but I mean they need to be the same labels that you're selling the music from, right?
Yes, I mean they almost have to be.
Yeah. So whatever. So streaming, the discovery feature of it is interesting. It starts with this Explore page, and you can go get it now. You can try it now. You get a month free, and if you sign up by June 30th, you'll get it for $7.99. After that, it's $9.99 a month.
So everybody take your free month and sign up for at least 1 month in
Right.
case you do like it.
Exactly.
You're saving $2 a month for the rest of your life.
So it's on the web as well. Works in the browser, but it also works in your phones and tablets. So we've got it now, and Jerry and I have an issue here. Now,
Very much so.
let's say from the get-go, but this will lead into another discussion, I think. Let's say from the get-go, this is a problem not many of us are going to have.
Right. Less than 5,000.
So explain what that is.
The new Google Music application takes out all communication with the Nexus Q. Now, of course, everybody that I know that has a Nexus Q is at Google I.O. this year. We haven't been able to go back home and exactly try it. But the rumor floating around is if you upgrade your Google Music app, you can no longer stream the music you've bought and paid for through your Nexus Q. That's a huge fail.
For those of us who have it.
Right. For all 0.0000 however many zeros percent of us that bought one, and then even a smaller amount that like it and use it.
Right. Now, this is us whining and complaining about it.
And feel free to laugh at us because you didn't get one and you knew that it was not, your cup of tea to start with.
But this goes back to things we didn't hear about today. We heard nothing about the living room at all.
Nope.
No mention of Google TV, which I'm still not a fan of. No mention of any other sort of digital living room entertainment, whatever. None.
No, I would not, and this is just Jerry talking. I don't know anything, and this is no rumor or anything. I would not be surprised to see Google just slowly back away from that
Really?
and let somebody else take care of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but they've been gung-ho about it
But
3
no,
years
no.
ago, and then last year they were still kind of talked about
I disagree. I disagree 100%. Here's why.
Okay.
You have Google Play, which has grown in leaps and bounds in the past year. You have a proper way to rent and buy music and movies and TV, and you have no decent way to get it onto your television wirelessly. None at all.
But you know how you fix that? You can have Google provide a solution to fix it, or you can have Samsung provide a solution to fix it, and convince Samsung to do it good.
Well, Samsung has one. It's called Samsung.
I know.
and it doesn't play any of this Google Play stuff.
Right. I mean,
I think we're going to see, if not some sort of separate event, at least some sort of separate announcement at some point
I hope
later
so.
this year.
I mean, I've got a lot of content in Google Play that I don't want to give up. I
Yeah.
don't want to.
That's how we've been watching. That's how my kids have been watching movies. How I've been watching movies.
Yep.
I buy them and stream them straight over the Nexus Q because I know I talk about this every time, and everybody's tired of hearing about it. But I think it works that well and it's that important.
Right. It's mindless. It just
Yeah.
works. It works like very few Google things do. It just works.
I mean, if we don't get something to replace that, I'm gonna have to go get Apple TV. I'm gonna have to.
well, then you still won't have your Google stuff.
I know.
You'll also have to buy a $99 Google TV and a Switch.
I don't want a $99 Google TV.
No,
I'm gonna
you
have to
don't.
start using
Trust me.
Apple stuff.
You don't want a $99 Google TV
Right.
because they're just not there yet. I mean, the Asus Cube is almost there, but almost is still almost.
Something else we haven't really talked about is the new gaming. It's part of the Google
Right.
services, by the way. We totally skipped over that. Yeah, again, everything that kind of came out in that services leak, of course, it's true because it's in there.
Right.
But yeah, you have proper leaderboards. You have proper, and this was actually, I think, the reason we skipped over it is because that was the demo that failed.
Right.
You have leaderboards. You have proper multiplayer. Matching you up with people you know or people you don't. They have a whole bunch of developers on board, and we've been getting emails all day long of "we now support blah 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 blah." Cool, awesome. And in fact, I'm glad it's there because there are some really crappy game services out there before.
Right.
So I hope this takes off, and I hope it's done well.
But this is just an extension of what you can do when you have ways for applications to communicate.
Right.
If you have a tablet and a phone, there's no reason that the same app on both can't talk to itself.
Yeah.
And now Google has provided a way for them to do it.
Chrome, whole bunch of cool stuff in Chrome again.
Basically, Google Now's in there.
Google Now is basically in Chrome.
Yep.
This
Everybody gets Google Now except 48% of Android.
voice search is frigging nuts on this thing. It was so fast, and you don't even have to click anything anymore. This part's not live yet, is it?
I don't think so.
I don't think it was. So you would basically, it's like talking to Google Glass. You would just say, "Okay, Google, show me a restaurant next door or whatever," and then half a second later it pops up. It in even in a demo environment, I can't believe how quick this was.
Right. It knocked it right out, and it was correct. One thing to be fast, but another thing is it knew what they were asking, and it gave the correct result.
And again, it's like Google Now, so you could say, "Google, show me my pictures from vacation last month," and it will go through the pictures you uploaded to Google from vacation last month and plop them right up there on the screen.
What did they say? Show me the pictures I took when I was in New York.
Right.
And it figured out when you were in New York and what pictures you wanted to see and showed them to you.
Now, again, a lot of variables. This all has to be in Google. You have to have geolocation turned on when you take the pictures. So there are caveats, not huge ones.
Right. I mean, well, if you don't want to go all in with Google, you're not going to be able to use some of these services.
And by the way, this is one of the really cool things about Google Plus was auto hashtags.
Yes.
As we're talking about recognizing things. So we'll take a look at the words. It will look at the images you put in your posts.
Eiffel Tower.
Their
baby.
example was the Eiffel Tower. So it sees it and says, "Hey, that's the Eiffel Tower. I'm going to tag it Eiffel Tower." You can still totally control these.
Yep.
You can untag things. You can set them to not tag at all. But really cool recognition.
I want to get it to tag Phil Nickinson.
I got tagged twice. Never mind. I'm not a web developer at all, obviously. If you've ever seen me try to code anything more than here's a paragraph,
You
here's
did a
link.
fine job on the
Thank you.
podcast notes.
Thank you. So a lot of this I don't understand, and I just kind of watch as they do it like, holy crap, that's incredible. But the one gaming example today, if you haven't seen this on the video, you have to watch the keynote video. It was this game called Racer. And they had, what?
God, yes.
They had a Nexus 10, an iPad, an iPhone, a Nexus 4, and I think a Galaxy S4. I couldn't tell what the last
Looked
device
like
was.
it, yes.
Sitting side by side, and it's set up like a slot car racing track. I used to have those when I was a kid, actually. And the track would go from device to device to device.
Right, it told you before you press the button to line up the center of your devices.
Right.
And it was amazing.
and it recognizes where they are and lines the track up so it's going from. Just watch the video. It was pretty badass, and so you have these little cars going across half dozen devices, and just through the web, through the web.
Yeah, nothing installed.
Just
This was
in Chrome.
Right.
You have that. They talked about optimization, so you're not just making pages load faster. You're saving yourself data in the long run and bandwidth, and that's good.
What's the WebGL?
WebM.
Yes, the game they showed that was, the Hobbit thing just running in Chrome.
Yes.
That was pretty damn slick. That game has no actual engine; it just runs in Chrome.
They are switching YouTube over to a new. Was it YouTube? No, it wasn't YouTube.
No,
it was the JPEG standard, the image standard.
Yes.
WebP.
They're gonna. And what is that? That's 60%, 65% less bandwidth used.
Yeah. It takes the place of JPEGs, PNGs, and of course animated GIFs.
And that's a little controversial because, that's Google's standard.
Right.
They're trying to push it, and they will make it open as open as anyone needs it to be. But right now, it's Google against everybody else, and they're kind of pushing theirs.
It might be open, but when you say don't use that standard, use ours.
Right. There is an existing standard that has to be. Somebody else has to decide which is better, not Google, because they have a stake in it.
And anytime you get standards like this, it's a big pain.
Right, and you're going to have, of course, you're going to have the big dogs are all going to fight against each other about whose is best, and you're going to read all stuff on the internet about how Google is evil, and WebP is evil, and Mozilla is evil, and Apple is evil, and Phil is evil, and Jerry is evil. But just know that the nerds are going to fight it all out, and in the end, you'll get the one that works best for you.
We talked about the conversational search a little bit, so I mean, you will just talk to Chrome like you talk to anything else, like you talk to Google now. And that's the future of everything, I think.
Well, that's wearable computation is going to get, and
Yep.
Since we didn't have a big deal on it this year, Google I/O, I can finally say it. I'm not all that up into glass, guys. I have nothing against it, but I'm not feeling it. But it's coming big time.
Glass didn't get mentioned at all today. Not until Robert Scoble brought it up as the first question in Larry Page's Q&A.
You could tell Larry just wanted to reach down and smack him for that.
Now, Larry was not wearing Google Glass, by the way. Not mentioned at all. There are a bunch of people here wearing it and using it and talking about it. And I haven't used it, so I'm a little hesitant to say anything bad about it because it makes it sound like I'm just pissed off I haven't used it.
Well, no, I from what I understand, it works great.
Right.
It's just not my bag.
And it's not a retail device yet. That's my only thing. Like, I think I worry about us treating it like it's some product anyone can go out and buy right now.
Did you catch what Sundar had on his wrist?
A lot of people were talking about the watch.
What was it?
I don't know.
It sure looked like some sort of new technology on there.
I
touchscreen.
have no idea. I mean, there's so many different kinds of watches out there.
Well, it was a blank sheet of dark glass. Let's put it that way.
Well, there are those out there as well. That's a lot for what some people have called a disappointing 3-hour keynote.
Oh my God, I can't believe anybody's disappointed in this.
I think you're nuts if you say that.
Right.
I really do.
Google is finally worrying about the future instead of just having fun today. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah.
I think this is the best, Google developer conference that I've ever even heard of. The stuff they're giving you, the Google Play services, my God. That's a game changer. No more crying because this doesn't work on your phone because it's this version. Well, Google can't make somebody update your phone, but they can take the need to have a new version away.
And this is one of those things that the carriers won't be stripping it out.
No, they can't. They can't. If they can If they take the APIs for Google Now and move them into Google Play services, your Froyo phone that hasn't been updated in forever and you still have 2 months on your contract, you could get Google Now.
Right.
This is big.
All right, so that is Google I/O 2013 Day 1. Keynote 1, the only keynote we have. There are a lot of developers running around. We're going to go talk to some of them tomorrow. We've got some more sessions we're going to sit through tomorrow and learn a whole bunch of good stuff.
And the fireside chat, that's tomorrow.
Yep.
That's always fun.
That is always a big deal. Because it's just kind of one big giant Q&A with the people who make this stuff.
And the people that can think of really good questions to ask. Better than we could.
Far better than we can. Because these are the people who actually work with this stuff and don't just sit around talking about it like we do. So, Jerry, thank you.
Well, Phil, thank you.
Everybody out there listening to this, thank you guys as well. And I guess we're done. I guess we're out. We have stuck a fork in it. So, I'm not sure if we'll do another podcast from SF. We will see. If not, we'll catch y'all next week.
Do. See,
that's the music at the beginning.
Oh, fail.
Sad.
Outtake.